My name is Sarah Levy. I'm a 52-year-old Jewish woman from Haifa, Israel. What happened to me on March 28, 2025, turned my entire world upside down. I wasn't religious, I wasn't searching, but after a tragic accident, I found myself face to face with a reality no one had prepared me for. In those few moments beyond death, Jesus himself showed me revelations about Israel, America, and Donald Trump, things that will shake you. I'm sharing this because he asked me to. Please, listen closely. This isn't politics, this is eternity. I'll never forget that morning. It started like any other. I was rushing, late as usual, trying to catch a bus to my office job in downtown Haifa. My mind was filled with small things, emails, errands, groceries. You know, life's noise. The street was crowded, cars honking, people weaving through traffic. I wasn't even thinking about faith. I was born Jewish, yes, but not practicing. I believed in tradition, culture, family, but religion? God felt distant. I remember looking at my phone, scrolling mindlessly when I heard the screech. Tires. Loud. Too loud. That's when the bus jumped the curb. I didn't even have time to scream. In a flash, metal met flesh, my flesh. The force was like being hit by a train. My body crumpled. People shouted, sirens in the distance. But here's the thing. I didn't feel pain. I felt peace. As strange as it sounds, I was calm, almost like watching a movie of myself. I saw people running toward my body, but I was above it, floating. A strange warmth surrounded me. Sarah Levi, a voice said, clear, strong. You are not finished yet. I looked around but saw no one. That's when everything changed. The street, the cars, the chaos, it all blurred like watercolors running in the rain. And then, in one breath, it was gone. And I was no longer in Haifa. This is where things get strange. Though I was just hit by a bus in Haifa, I suddenly found myself standing in Tel Aviv's Dizengoff Square. It was eerily empty, silent, not like the bustling city I knew. This is not the Tel Aviv of Earth. You are seeing the spiritual reflection, the same voice explained. Before I could understand, a ripple moved through the air, like a vibration. Then in front of me, I witnessed a horrific scene. A terror attack unfolding in slow motion. A bomb, an explosion, people running, screaming. It was brutal, yet time seemed to stretch. But here's what shocked me most. I wasn't seeing this as a spectator. I was feeling every ripple, every prayer, every cry for help in the spirit. I heard people calling out to God, Jews, Muslims, even atheists, in that final moment, and every cry became a light rising into the heavens. Pain on earth creates a response in heaven, the voice said, but few understand the power of a single cry. Suddenly, the chaos froze, suspended in the air like a paused video, and that's when I saw him. A man, clothed in simple white, standing in the middle of it all. No fear, no panic. His presence was like still water in a hurricane. It was Jesus. But not as the world paints him. He looked Jewish, like someone who could sit at my family's Shabbat table. His eyes. Oh, his eyes held such depth. Love and sorrow mingled in them. Sarah, he said, and hearing my name in his voice undid me. Come, there is more you must see. When Jesus spoke, the scene around me dissolved. The bomb, the people, Tel Aviv itself. It all faded like smoke. We were suddenly in a vast, open expanse. No sky, no ground, just light. But this light wasn't blinding. It was alive, pulsing, like the heartbeat of creation. You are now in the threshold between time and eternity, Jesus said. I couldn't speak. Words felt too small, but my thoughts were exposed. Every doubt, every question laid bare. You never believed in me, he said gently, not condemning, yet I have always known you. In that moment, I understood. He wasn't a foreign god. He wasn't an outsider to my people. He was the Lion of Judah. the Messiah we had long awaited and missed. He stretched out his hand, and suddenly, layers of history unfolded before me. Israel's past, the covenant, the prophets. I saw Moses, David, Esther, all their prayers still living, still active in the heavenly realm. Israel's story is not finished, he said, but her heart must return to me, not to politics or power. His words cut through every illusion I had believed. And then he showed me the nations. I found myself suspended above a map of the world, but this wasn't geography as we know it. Every nation was connected by glowing threads. Some threads were vibrant, alive, others were frayed, darkened. I watched as Israel's thread pulsed, intertwined with another glowing strand, America. Their destinies are woven together by my design, Jesus explained, but the enemy seeks to sever what I have joined. He pointed to areas where darkness was creeping, subtle and deceptive, not armies, but ideas, lies, cultural shifts designed to erode truth. And then I saw a figure, bold, brash, familiar, Donald Trump. He is not a savior, Jesus said plainly, but he was a disruptor, allowed to shake systems that resisted my hand. I saw spiritual warfare surrounding him, not about politics, but about timing. His rise, his fall, his return to influence, it was all part of a larger chessboard. This is not about one man, Jesus clarified. It is about awakening my people to the times they live in. Then he looked deep into me. Sarah, when you return, you must speak, not of fear, but of alignment. My people perish for lack of knowledge. As he spoke, the map faded, but his words remained, etched into my soul. Prepare them. Tell them. The time is not later. It is now. As the map of nations faded, I found myself standing before a figure unlike anything I had ever imagined. He wasn't Jesus, not yet. This was someone else, a man of pure light. His form shifted, fluid, yet perfectly still. His robe shimmered with ancient words, Hebrew letters glowing and moving, alive with breath. He didn't speak, but somehow I heard him clearly inside me. Sarah, daughter of Levi, you were known before the stars were hung. His words weren't poetic fluff. They carried weight. I felt my entire life flash through me, not as memories, but as threads in a tapestry far greater than myself. You have been invited here, not for reward, but for revelation. The man of light extended his hand. Between his fingers appeared a scroll. It wasn't parchment, but light folded upon itself. Symbols flowed across it, names, events, timelines. This is the scroll of nations. Few are permitted to see it. As the scroll unraveled, I saw Israel's name burn with intensity. But what stunned me was how it intertwined with unexpected names: Persia, America, Russia, even China. Threads of light and darkness weaving together in a living design. Prophecy is not a forecast, the man said. It is a reflection of alignment, of choices made in the light or in the shadows. I saw leaders rise and fall, some used by God knowingly, others unwittingly. Every decision echoing through this scroll, altering the flow of history. Then he said something that sent chills through my soul. The time of playing religion is over. Israel's awakening will shake the earth. But first, she must see her Messiah. At that moment, a presence even greater than his approached. I knew instantly it was him. As Jesus drew near, the scroll of nations lifted, hovering between us. His eyes, oh, his eyes, reflected its entirety. Every nation, every soul, past, present, future, all at once. He placed his hand over the scroll. The symbols responded, pulsing with light. Sarah, what you see is not fixed. Intercession can shift what pride would destroy. He showed me flashes, not of warplanes or armies, but of people praying. Small gatherings, individuals in their homes. Their prayers weren't thin whispers. They were weapons, slicing through spiritual darkness, altering the threads on the scroll. I saw Israel again, but now I noticed the frayed edges, the compromises, the idolatries disguised as progress. Yet, amidst the frailty, small but fierce embers glowed. "These are my remnant," Jesus said, "those who seek not power, but presence." America's thread appeared next, trembling, under siege. A fierce battle raged not in politics, but in identity. "As Israel's heart returns to me, so will America's clarity be restored," he said. "But the war is spiritual, not political." The scroll rolled up, as if sealing the moment. "Time is short, but grace is sufficient." His words weren't of panic. They were filled with purpose. This was the moment everything I thought I knew collapsed. Jesus stood before me, but not as a gentle teacher. He was the Lion of Judah. Power radiated from him in waves. His feet seemed planted in the soil of Jerusalem itself, yet he stood in this eternal realm. "Sarah, you have waited for me without knowing, but I have never turned from you." His voice shook everything within me. There was no mistaking it. This was not a foreign Messiah. This was the very root of my people's hope, the one our prophets had seen dimly, now standing in fullness. "I came for the lost sheep of Israel," he said, "and I come again for those who will finally see." Visions surrounded us, the wailing wall, the desert, synagogues filled with worshipers, and over it all a great tension, as if heaven itself leaned in, waiting. "Israel's blindness was not punishment," Jesus said gently. "It was part of the mystery, but now the veil is thinning." I wept. For my people, for myself. "Do not fear, a remnant will rise, and you, Sarah, will be a voice among them." He placed his hand over my heart. In that moment, everything in me that had resisted broke. And I knew, without a doubt, that Yeshua, Jesus, was and always had been our promised Messiah. As my tears fell, Jesus lifted his hand, and the realm shifted. I now saw Israel not as a nation defined by borders, but as a gate, a spiritual threshold between heaven and earth. "Israel is my timepiece," he said. "The world watches her politics, but heaven watches her heart." He showed me layers of Israel's identity, the covenant, the land, the people. But beyond that, I saw the spiritual warfare waged over her purpose. It wasn't about land disputes. It was about influence. The enemy seeks to redefine Israel's calling, to make her a beacon of tolerance without truth, of unity without holiness. I saw movements rising, both within and outside, pushing for a new Israel, one disconnected from her covenant with God. But amidst that, glimmers of hope remained. Small groups, underground prayer circles, messianic believers, quietly standing in the gap. "These are my warriors," he said. "Their prayers are louder in heaven than any nation's policies." I saw how every festival, every Shabbat, every ancient song sung in faith, these were keys unlocking divine purposes across the earth. Then he said something that struck me deeply. "As Israel returns to me, she will ignite revival in places long considered lost." The spiritual role of Israel was never just about survival. It was about awakening, a catalyst for global revival. "And Sarah, you will tell them, 'Tell my people they are more than survivors. They are carriers of my glory.'" The vision began to fade, but the weight of his words remained. I knew then, my life had been forever marked. As the vision of Israel faded, the focus shifted. Before me, America appeared, not as a map, but as a living body. Its veins were highways, its breath was the prayers of its people, but its heart was flickering. America's destiny was never political, Jesus said. It was always spiritual. I watched as forces unseen by human eyes pulled at America's soul, ideologies disguised as enlightenment, division masked as progress. The threads connecting America to Israel were fraying, not by wars, but by forgetfulness. Her strength was never in might, but in mercy, he said softly. As she forgets me, her foundation trembles. Yet hope remained. Small lights dotted the land, not megachurches or institutions, humble homes, prayer closets, simple believers refusing to bow to cultural idols. These are the embers. They will carry the flame when structures fall. I saw a coming shaking, not to destroy, but to purify. America's identity is at a crossroads, Jesus said, but her restoration is tied to her alignment with my heart and with Israel. It wasn't doom, it was invitation, but time was urgent. This part shook me. Out of the vision of America, a figure emerged, unmistakable, Donald Trump. But here, in this realm, he wasn't a politician, not a celebrity. He appeared as a disruptor in the spiritual battlefield. Understand this, Sarah, Jesus said. I do not choose vessels for their perfection. I choose them for their purpose. I saw how Trump's rise was like throwing a stone into a stagnant pond. Ripples of disruption spread, disturbing both human and demonic agendas. He was not the answer. He was a question mark, forcing hidden things to surface. But the battle wasn't over Trump. It was about the timing his presence represented. I saw behind-the-scenes battles, not in parliament halls, but in spiritual courts. Accusations, interventions, decrees. His role is not finished, but it is changing, Jesus said. The focus must return to me, not to men. He warned me of a dangerous deception, believers placing hope in political saviors while neglecting the power of prayer and repentance. I use kings and disruptors, but my kingdom is not of this world, he declared. Then, he showed me a vision of believers awakening, realizing their authority wasn't in ballots, but in boldness before the throne of God. Trump stirred the waters. Now, my people must walk upon them. The vision expanded. I saw the world, not as separate countries, but as a spiritual battlefield. Nations weren't fighting for land, but for souls. This is the real war, Jesus said, not flesh and blood, but principalities, powers, deceptions designed to enslave minds. I saw shadows cloaking media, education, entertainment, reshaping truth into lies so subtle most didn't notice. But then I saw intercessors, nameless, faceless warriors kneeling in hidden places. Their prayers pierced the shadows like arrows of fire. These are my hidden ones, he said. They do more in an hour of prayer than armies do in years of strategy. Israel's role was pivotal. As her people returned to covenant, her spiritual influence radiated, pushing back darkness beyond her borders. The enemy fears an awakened Israel because her voice shakes foundations. I saw alliances form, not political, but spiritual, between nations and remnant believers. Light connecting continents, creating a global web of revival. The harvest is great, but so is the deception. My people must discern. He looked at me, eyes filled with both sorrow and fierce love. This is not the end. This is the separation. Wheat from tares, truth from illusion. This was the moment that broke me. Jesus turned my attention back to Israel. I saw elderly women in Jerusalem, hands trembling, rocking back and forth, whispering the Psalms. I saw young soldiers muttering prayers under their breath at checkpoints. I saw children reciting ancient blessings. Each word, each breath, rose like incense, weaving into a shield of light around the nation. These prayers are not relics, he said. They are weapons, shields. They sustain what politics cannot. He showed me moments when wars should have broken Israel, yet unseen hands intervened because of these quiet prayers. But I also saw a tragic reality. Many Jewish people had disconnected from the spiritual power of their own heritage, reduced to ritual without revelation. They recite my words, yet do not see me within them, Jesus said with deep sorrow. Yet there was hope. I saw a wave of Jewish believers, young and old, awakening to the truth of Yeshua. Their prayers merged ancient power with renewed revelation. The impact was like an explosion of light in the spiritual realm. "These will be the torchbearers," he said. "They will redig the ancient wells. They will call Israel home, to me." As he spoke, I felt an urgency. "Tell them, Sarah, their prayers are heard, their covenant is eternal, but the time to awaken is now." The vision of praying mothers, fathers, soldiers, children, it remains with me, more real than any headline. And I knew my people are standing on the edge of the greatest spiritual awakening since the days of the prophets. After showing me the prayers of my people, Jesus' face grew somber. "Sarah, now you must see what deceives them." In an instant, the light dimmed, not with darkness, but with a false glow. Beautiful, seductive. I saw movements rising in Israel, draped in words like unity, progress, peace. Yet beneath the surface, their roots were not in God's truth. "This is the deception," Jesus said, "a peace offered without me, a covenant of convenience, not consecration." I watched as leaders stood before cameras, signing accords that looked righteous but carried spiritual poison. They offered safety in exchange for silence about Israel's divine calling. It was subtle, so subtle that even devout people were being lulled. "They will speak of harmony, of tolerance," he continued, "but they will ask you to lay down your covenant. To be accepted, you must forget who you are." I saw international pressure mounting, urging Israel to redefine herself, not as God's chosen nation, but as a secular beacon of globalism. Ancient identities were being reshaped, not by force, but by seduction. But then I saw believers, Messianic Jews, quiet intercessors, standing in the gap. They weren't protesting loudly, they were weeping, praying. Their cries were like arrows, piercing the illusion. "The veil of deception will lift, but only through the travail of the faithful," Jesus said. This wasn't a political battle, it was a spiritual seduction, and the only antidote was truth spoken in love, bathed in prayer. "You will tell them, Sarah, warn them gently, call them back." Jesus then widened my view. I saw nations beyond Israel shaking under the same deception, movements parading as moral victories while cutting ties with God's order, churches compromising to stay relevant, governments enforcing ideologies that blurred truth until it became unrecognizable. "This is not just Israel's test," Jesus said, "it is the sifting of the whole earth." But even as darkness tried to blanket the nations, pockets of light began to burst forth. I saw underground revivals in Iran, secret worship gatherings in China, unexpected moves of God in places the world had written off as hopeless. "Revival will not look like before," he explained. "It will rise from the overlooked, the outcasts, the ones hungry for truth, not applause." In America, I saw small homes where families gathered, opening the Bible again, not as ritual, but as life. In Europe, I saw tired churches ignite as a new generation asked dangerous questions. What if we've been missing him all along? "The awakening is not about platforms, it's about presence," Jesus said. Israel's role in this was pivotal. As Israel awakens, so will the nations. Her eyes will unlock their vision. He showed me a global web of believers, interconnected not by denominations, but by desperation for the real Jesus. This was beyond politics. It was a kingdom collision. The shaking will intensify, but in the shaking, gold will surface. What Jesus showed me next was hard to watch. He stretched out his hand, and the scene transformed into a vast field. Wheat swayed gently in the breeze, golden and ripe, but woven among them were tares, so similar in appearance, it was almost impossible to distinguish at first glance. "This is my church, this is my Israel, this is the world," he said. A sudden wind blew through the field. The wheat bowed, flexible, moving with the breath of God, but the tares stood stiff, unbending, resisting the flow. "This is how I separate," Jesus whispered. "No violent uprooting, no human judgment, just the gentle, persistent breath of His Spirit revealing what was real." I saw leaders who had spoken loudly of God, yet their roots were shallow, their fruit bitter. I also saw hidden servants, unknown to the world, whose lives were fragrant with humility and obedience. "Many who are first in the eyes of man will be last in my kingdom," He said. For Israel, this separation would be intense. Cultural Jews who had abandoned covenant for convenience would face a choice. Messianic believers, once marginalized, would rise as voices of clarity. "This is not punishment," Jesus clarified. "It is purification, a bride made ready." He showed me individuals being faced with clear choices, compromise or consecration, not in grand public acts, but in the quiet decisions of daily life. "Sarah, tell them, this is the hour of decision." At this point, I felt overwhelmed. Who was I to carry such a message? But Jesus' eyes softened. He stepped closer, and I could feel His presence wrap around me like a mantle. "Sarah, you are not chosen because you are perfect. You are chosen because you are willing." He placed His hand over my heart. Instantly, I felt a weight, not a burden, but a commission, a knowing that I could not stay silent. "You will speak, you will write, you will warn, but also invite." He showed me standing in small gatherings, sharing what I had seen. I saw people weeping, not because of eloquence, but because the truth pierced through the fog of deception. "You will not stand alone, others are being awakened too." He didn't promise comfort. In fact, I saw faces turning away. Some would reject the message, unable to reconcile it with their current beliefs. But I also saw chains breaking, eyes opening, a remnant rising. "Speak of my love, speak of my covenant, speak of my return." His hand lifted, but the imprint remained, a seal upon my spirit. "You have seen the scroll, you have heard my voice, now go." In that moment, I knew my life would never be the same. The old Sarah died on that street in Haifa. The one returning would carry the fire of revelation. And as the vision dimmed, I felt the pull back to my earthly body. But His final words echoed louder than anything. "Time is short, but my mercy is great. Call them to me." The moment of return was brutal. One instant I stood in glory. The next, my body slammed back into brokenness. It felt like being crammed into a space too small for my soul. Pain roared through every nerve. I heard shouting, sirens, hands pressing on my chest. "She's back! We've got a pulse!" The paramedic's voice sounded shocked, almost disbelieving. As breath tore back into my lungs, reality hit me, harsh, loud, fragile. The cold of the Haifa pavement beneath me, the sting of blood in my mouth. But somewhere deeper, under the pain, was the burning mark of where His hand had rested on my heart. I was alive, but I wasn't the same. The doctors later called it a miracle. "You shouldn't have made it," they said. "No heartbeat for 4 minutes, no oxygen. Yet, here you are." But I knew why. Jesus had sent me back. In the days that followed, as I lay in the hospital, memories of the encounter flooded me. Not like dreams, they were too vivid, too sacred, every word, every image etched into my soul. The hardest part was realizing that my life could not go back to normal. That version of me, the one who lived for small routines, oblivious to the spiritual battle over my own people, had died on that sidewalk. Now, I had a mission. "You will tell them, Sarah." And I intended to obey. So why am I telling you this? Because it wasn't just for me. Jesus' final words still burn inside me. "Time is short. My people must awaken." This isn't about politics, not about left or right, not about religious arguments. This is about a spiritual reality that most are asleep to. Israel is standing at a prophetic crossroads. The nations are aligning, deceiving, and shaking. Yet amidst it all, God is calling His people, Jews and Gentiles alike, to wake up to the hour we're living in. The deception is real. The seduction of comfort is powerful, but the invitation to return to the true Messiah is still open. Jesus didn't show me doom. He showed me a path of mercy, but with urgency. A remnant will rise, but they must hear the call. And that's why you're reading this now. It's not an accident. Maybe you felt it, that stirring in your spirit, that quiet whisper saying, "This world isn't as it seems." Maybe you've been clinging to tradition or drifting in compromise, unsure of where truth even lives anymore. I'm here to tell you, Jesus is truth. He is not foreign to us. He is not a Christian God. He is the Lion of Judah, the promised Messiah, the one our prophets longed to see. He asked me to tell you this, and now I have. The choice is yours. If you take anything from my story, let it be this: the hour is later than you think. We are not waiting for prophetic events. We are living inside them. The shaking of nations, the confusion over identities, the wars, the deception, these are not isolated crises. They are symptoms of a deeper war for the soul of humanity. For Israel, this is personal. Our covenant, our calling, has never changed, but many of us have forgotten. Jesus showed me that revival in Israel will ignite a global awakening, but it starts with hearts, not headlines, with humble returns to covenant, not grand political moves. For America, for Europe, for the nations, the key is the same: return to Him. You don't need to be a theologian. You don't need to understand every mystery. You just need to say, "Here I am, Lord. Open my eyes." My encounter wasn't given to make me special. It was given to awaken you. I survived that bus accident for this moment, to reach you with this message, to tell you that Jesus is not a distant figure in history. He is alive, moving, calling. He is coming, not someday. His steps are already shaking the earth, and you, dear reader, are part of this divine moment. Do not sleep through it. This is the hour. With love and urgency, Sarah Levi,